Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Imagination Time Machine series. Whenever we step inside of the Imagination Time Machine, we can use our imagination to travel to anywhere or any when. Today, we're going to be traveling back into Bible times to see firsthand what it was like to be an Israelite living in the Promised Land. We're going to start today by warming up our imagination. Really quick, let's imagine that whatever room we're in is full of puppies. Okay, now let's imagine that whatever room we're in is full of kittens. Perfect. Now let's imagine that whatever room we're in is full of squirrels. Ugh. I probably shouldn't have imagined that. I forgot that I'm afraid of squirrels. Those can be some pretty freaky things. But in today's true Bible story, we're going to find out that maybe we don't need to be quite so scared of things like that. Speaking of the story, we should probably get started.
Hello, everybody. My name is Max. I'll be your guide in the ITM. That stands for Imagination Time Machine. There are some rules you need to follow for a safe trip in the ITM. First, close your eyes when I tell you to, and don't open them until I tell you to. The ITM projects in the darkness. If you open your eyes, its projection system shuts down. Second, follow my imagination instructions closely so you don't get lost. I'm setting the imagination destination right now. Location, the city of Jerusalem. Time, 1405 BC. A year after Jericho is defeated. Alrighty then. This would be a good time to close your eyes and imagine you're rocketing through time and space. Brace yourself. We're coming in for a landing. Imagine yourself stepping out of the ITM and into the massive throne room of a beautiful palace. Imagine what the throne room looks like. Quick, hide! Someone is coming. Imagine that the giant throne room doors open as 5 kings enter the room with urgency. Can you hear their heavy footsteps as they rush into the room? They seem upset. Something big is going on. Quietly move closer to hear what they're saying.
The nation of Israel must be stopped. Word has it that their God has promised to give this land to them. But curse them and their God. Jerusalem will be theirs over my dead body.
How could any one of our nations defeat Israel? Have you not heard how their God fights for them? If the city of Jericho with its giant walls couldn't stop them, then how can we?
We are 5 nations, but they are only one. If we band together, they won't stand a chance against us.
I hear the nation of Gibeon has already made a peace treaty with Israel. Maybe we should too.
Or maybe we should teach those traitors from Gibeon a lesson. Our 5 nations will fight as one, and we will destroy Gibeon right before we destroy Israel.
Later on, many miles away, a man named Joshua stands in a large tent, leaning over a map with his army commanders. Joshua is the warrior leader of Israel, chosen by God to bring his people into the Promised Land. Imagine what he looks like. Imagine what he's wearing, the sword at his side. Can you hear his voice as he strategizes with his commanders? Suddenly, A man rushes into the tent.
Joshua, my lord, I come to you from Gibeon. The 5 Amorite kings have joined armies and have attacked us for making peace with you. Please, we need your help.
Eager to help out, Joshua and his commanders rush from the tent to ready their army. Quick, follow him. In no time, the army of Israel is in formation and marching toward Gibeon. Imagine you snuck into the ranks of the marching men. What do you see? What does it sound like? Although Joshua is quick to help the people of Gibeon, he fears being outnumbered by the 5 armies. He also senses the fear among his warriors. Move in close to Joshua and listen to what he says to his men.
I know that they are 5 nations, and we are only one. But listen to what the Lord has told me. Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you. Not one of them will be able to fight against you and win.
The Israelites have faith that God is with them, and it pushes their fear away. They march boldly through the night and take the 5 armies by surprise. Imagine the sound of battle horns blowing. Imagine the army of Israel rushing into battle with a great shout. Now imagine the sound of swords clashing. When the Israelites charge forward, God fills the faithless 5 armies with fear, and they run away in a panic. But they don't get far. Imagine the sky filling with dark clouds as God throws giant hailstones down on them. As the sun begins to set, though, the remaining enemy soldiers are close to escaping into the darkness. Joshua knows that if they get away, they'll be back to fight another day. So he prays to God for a miracle.
Almighty God, make the sun stand still over Gibeon and stop the moon in its tracks.
Imagine the surprise in the eyes of the 5 armies when the sun stands still in the sky for a full day and there is no darkness to escape into. Imagine the sun lighting up the battlefield until every one of the 5 armies has been totally defeated. Can you hear the men of Israel shouting in celebration? Quick, we should get back to the ITM before someone discovers that we don't belong here. Imagine yourself stepping into the ITM and strapping into your seat. Destination, present day. We'll be arriving home in 3, 2, 1. You can open your eyes now.
Earlier today, we talked about some things that we were afraid of. Did anyone say they were afraid of being outnumbered by 5 ferocious armies? Probably not, but if you were Joshua, I bet you would have been. When Joshua and the armies of Israel started to feel afraid, what did God say to them? He said, "Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you." The army of Israel had faith in God's power, so when fear attacked, it didn't even put a dent in them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here, I have 2 cans. On the outside, they both look like cans. But this can is like the 5 armies. It's mostly empty. It's empty. There was no faith in them. This can is like the army of Israel. Although you can't see it, it is filled with faith in God. When fear attacked the 5 armies, it crushed it. You really couldn't see that. It crushed it. But when fear attacked the army of Israel, It didn't even put a dent in them, and they fought bravely. That's exactly what our Bible verse for today talks about. We're going to open our Bibles to Psalms 34:4. And it says, "I looked to the Lord, and he answered me. He saved me from everything I was afraid of." Psalm 34:4. Fear attacks us sometimes. Sometimes we're afraid of things like squirrels. But sometimes we're afraid of even bigger things, like losing our friends, or being made fun of, or nightmares, or other scary things. Remember though, when you have faith in God and you look to Him, He can save you from your fears. God has the power to pour hail down from the clouds. He has the power to make the sun stand still in the sky. And He has the power to stop fear from crushing you. God has power over all things, so we can battle our fear with faith in Him. Okay, that is all we have this time, and I'm so excited to see you in the next one. Bye!